Hi, my name's Paul Davies and welcome to the first ever blog of God's Ideals. I thought I'd just tell you a little bit about me before we get going, and this will be the only time I really talk about me in this way. When I was growing up, the household I grew up in was devoid of kindness, really. I got a good education, I'm very grateful for that, but my own mother tried to kill me. She used to lock me in a cupboard and leave me there for hours on end. And if you talked to my wife, you would find that I used to tear the bed apart every night, and it'd have to be remade every morning from the terror I experienced from the nightmares of those experiences. But I did have the good fortune to be sent off to Sunday school, and there I learnt about an amazing God. Some of the people there really showed their kindness, and that opened up to me a whole new world. One person, in fact, when I was 9 or 10, gave me a brand new Bible out of his own pocket, embossed with the initials of my name on it, and I couldn't understand why anyone would want to do that, how anyone could be so kind. And I hardly read it. It was a King James version, very difficult for a small boy to understand, but I used to cuddle that Bible in bed at night. I was so impressed with the kindness. Other acts of kindness got me really interested in God, and when I finally read the Bible, I discovered an amazing God, full of love and grace and mercy and kindness. I'd like to talk to you about that today. There's a verse in the Bible, in the book of Romans, chapter 5, verse 8, which says, "While we were still sinners, Christ died for us." To translate that into Aussie lingo, while my life was a complete stuff-up, when I didn't know what I was doing, when I'd stuffed so many things up, I had a pile of shit around me that I couldn't climb out of, Jesus came down to help me. He came down and tried to teach the world about how to operate in love and grace and mercy, but the world was operating on the basis of hatred and vengeance and punishment. And the two are polar opposites. The response of the world was to nail him to a cross. He didn't come down here to punish, he came down here to love. But we rejected that. As they drove the nails through his hands and feet, the Bible records that he was saying, or was most likely saying just then, "Father, forgive them, they know not what they do." Now, if you look it up in the Bible, you'll find it appears in the English that he said it once, but if you go back to the ancient Greek, you'll find that it's in the continuous present tense. That means he was saying it and saying it and saying it. He was probably saying, "Father, forgive them, they know not what they do," while they drove the nails through his hands and feet. He was probably saying it as they raised the cross and dropped it into the hole with a thud. He was probably saying it the whole time. Eventually, of course, he died. Now, I want you to think about what was happening with God the Father at that time. Was he watching dispassionately? I don't think so. I think he was looking down and saying, my boy, they're killing my boy." And then Jesus died. And there was, I believe, an almighty shudder. And the earth shook. And graves popped open. And people were seen walking. Dead people were seen walking through the streets of Jerusalem. And in my mind's eye, I can just hear God saying, "I am not the God of hatred, I am the God of love. I am not the God of death, I am the God of life." Not only did the graves open and people walk the streets of Jerusalem, 3 days later, Jesus rose from the dead. Can you come to grips with the love that's involved in God decloaking himself as his power, coming down in a human form as the person Jesus and walking amongst us and allowing himself to be crucified? Now, if that had been me, I'd have said, "Dad, I've had enough of these mongrels. Get me down off this cross. I want to go home." And the immense God who can hold the universe in his hand would have instantly done that. And if Jesus had said, "Let's get rid of these bastards, I want to start again," God would have gone, and that would have been the end of the universe as we know it. But that isn't what happened. What sort of love drives God to love us, even in the extreme of murdering his son? I can't come to grips with it. I can intellectualise it, but to come to grips with it emotionally is for me extremely difficult. But I accept it. I accept it. And I have responded to that. I hope you respond to that too.